We had our fun talking about the Big Ten conference race, but now we're going to pick some games that are going to be played this weekend. Number 6 Alabama travels to number 10 LSU. This ought to be an interesting one as Alabama tries to march towards an SEC title, and that's going to be a big one once they play Auburn, but they got to take care of LSU first. Mike, who do you see in this one?
I think you have to pick Alabama for a couple of reasons. LSU 101st in the country in total offense. Stephen Ridley, the running back, has been good at times, but not great in the last 2 weeks. Only 83 yards combined the last 2 weeks. Jarrett Lee and Jordan Jefferson, the two quarterbacks splitting time at LSU, have 4 touchdowns and 9 interceptions combined. So there's just not any consistency on that LSU offense. Defensively, they're 10th in the country in scoring. But Alabama, way too balanced in offense. Julio Jones came back last week against Tennessee, had 221 yards receiving, and then you've got Ingram and Richardson both running the ball. We've talked about them, giving them accolades all season long. So I think Alabama wins this game going away in the fourth quarter. I think LSU's defense keeps them in the game, but throughout the duration of 4 quarters, Alabama wears them down.
Jake, LSU and Les Miles are 14-1 off a loss. Do you think LSU wins, or do you got Bama?
No, I have to take Alabama in this game. Alabama and LSU have the top 2 defenses in the SEC. The difference in this game, though, is Alabama has a lot of weapons on offense. A former Heisman winner in Mark Ingram, Greg McElroy, Julio Jones on offense. LSU, their defense will keep them in the game, but as Mike said, they're juggling 2 quarterbacks. I never like it when teams do that. I think it's much better to solidify one quarterback, and he's the leader of the team. He's the leader of that offense. He gets all the reps in practice. But as of now, neither quarterback for LSU has stepped up. They rank last in the SEC in passing. They have one of the worst offenses in the SEC. I think Alabama's going to win this game.
Completely agree with both of you. Alabama, second best scoring defense in college football, and as you already said, Mike, LSU 10th. So the defenses are good. Alabama's forced 15 interceptions on the year, so it's going to be interesting to see if they get a lot of pressure and force some turnovers from LSU. But just like you guys said, LSU's offense is not good enough to compete with Alabama's. I like Alabama in this one too. Number 15 Arizona will travel to Palo Alto to take on number 13 Stanford. Stanford off to their best start since 1970. Jake, do they keep it rolling?
Well, Arizona has the best statistical defense in the Pac-10, but Stanford has a pretty good defense of their own. They also have Andrew Luck, who's the top-rated passer in the Pac-10. They have the second best rushing attack in the Pac-10 next to Oregon. I think Stanford's going to win this game. Arizona, their quarterback situation is a little iffy right now. It doesn't look like Nick Foles will come back. But I think Stanford has the balance on offense and defense to win this game.
Yeah, I think if Nick Foles can get healthy for the game, it gives Arizona a better chance to win. Matt Scott's played well the last 2 weeks, but Nick Foles clearly the better quarterback. You know, Arizona, we've seen their defense, 7th in the country in scoring, only giving up 14 points a game. They're a very good defensive football team. But Stanford, very balanced attack on offense, 245 yards passing a game, 223 rushing. Stephen Taylor, their running back, has rushed 100 yards in 5 straight games. So a lot of balance from Stanford. Andrew Luck, I think, is arguably got the most pro potential of any quarterback in college football right now. I think Stanford wins this game, but it'll be close.
Stanford's also won 15 of the last 17 at home, but remember the number 16 when thinking about Stanford. First of all, the offense is pretty good. Stanford's only punted the ball 16 times this year. That's the best in the FBS. Also, Stanford has had 16 different players score a touchdown this year. That is also best in the FBS. Stanford's a great football team. I like him to win this game.
And the last 3 games in this series have been decided by a combined 7 points. Stanford winning by 1 point in 07 and 08, and Arizona winning by 5 points in 2009. So very competitive the last 3 years between both these teams.
Game day is going to be in Salt Lake City this week as the Mountain West Showcase game is number 3 TCU and number 5 Utah. TCU has never won in Salt Lake, but that's only 0-3. Mike, do they do it this time?
I think TCU does win this football game. Jake and I are always big on defenses, and TCU #1 scoring defense in the country, only giving up 16 points in 5 Mountain West Conference football games this season. Utah, a lot of talent. Jordan Wynn is a really good young sophomore quarterback. He's got a bright future. He's played well this season. They've got a balanced attack. Shaky Smithson's the kind of guy on special teams we saw against Iowa State. He's explosive and can make a lot of big plays, but I think TCU just more balanced, and I think they get the job done, and this game will be a close one.
Jake.
Well, looking at both their schedules so far, both teams have really dominated the teams that they've played. Both teams rank in the top 2 in the Mountain West in both scoring offense and scoring defense. It's going to be a very evenly matched game. However, you look back to last year, and TCU won 55-28. They returned 16 starters from that team on offense and defense. I think TCU has the firepower behind Andrew Dalton to win this game.
Yeah, and that's a thing a lot of people don't talk about is their offense, which is 11th in the country in total offense. And we talked about the defense, but I just want to go down the line about how good this defense is. I know their schedule hasn't been the toughest, but they lead the nation in scoring defense. They lead the nation in total defense. They lead the nation in pass defense. They lead the nation in fewest first downs allowed, and they lead the nation in lowest opponent third down percentage. This defense is for real, and I think it's that TCU defense also with that great TCU offense. And about that defense, too, 5 conference games, they've only allowed 1 touchdown. That's the Air Force. I think TCU gets the win in a close one against Utah. Number 21, Baylor. That's right. Baylor still has a number next to their name. They're still ranked. They got to go to Stillwater to take on number 17, Oklahoma State, who is quietly 7-1 right now. Jake, who do you like in this one?
Well, Oklahoma State gets Justin Blackman back this game, which is a huge boost for the top scoring offense in the Big 12. He's leading the country in receiving yards per game with 158 yards per game. That's just an incredible stat. Baylor, behind their quarterback, Robert Griffin, has had a very explosive offense, a big win against Texas. They're a great story this year, but I think right now Oklahoma State, when they get their big wide receiver back, I think they're going to win this one at home. It's going to be a shootout. There might be 90 points scored in this game. It's going to be a fun one to watch. I think Oklahoma State's going to win.
Mike?
I agree. Blackman's a great receiver, and that's a big reason why Oklahoma State will win this game. But Kendall Hunter, in 7 of 8 games this season, has rushed for over 100 yards, including a 201-yard performance in a loss to Nebraska. So Kendall Hunter having a really good year, and Brandon Weeden, the quarterback, 23 touchdown passes. 9 interceptions, a little high there, but he's played pretty well for the most part. And I just don't think Baylor, through the duration of 4 quarters, is going to be able to put enough points on the board to beat Oklahoma State.
Yeah, and I can't wait to watch that quarterback battle between Weeden and Robert Griffin III. These offenses are tremendous. 42 points a game for Baylor, 38 points a game for Oklahoma State. But I think Baylor's defense is slightly better. They give up 8 points per game less than Oklahoma State does. And I just like the season Baylor's having. I think Baylor goes on the road to Boone Pickens Stadium and gets the win over Oklahoma State, and then that sets up a very interesting matchup with Oklahoma for the Big 12 South.
And you know what? I've been impressed by Art Briles. 7 wins. No one would have seen that coming this season. But Oklahoma State has won 13 of the last 14 in this series, and in all 13 of Baylor's losses, they've all been by double digits. So historically, Baylor does not play well against Oklahoma State, and they lose big.
Well, precedent is always meant to change,
That's
right,
right,
Mr.
yeah.
Raven?
Historically, Baylor hasn't played well against any team in the Big 12.
Yeah,
So.
That's right.
5 Big 12 South wins. They got 20% of their Big 12 South wins last week when they beat Texas.
And you were right last week, and we were wrong, so absolutely.
Hey, I'm just going to ride that Baylor train until they lose, okay? And if they win out, I'll just retire from this show and just go out on top. A big game in Bloomington this weekend. Number 16, Iowa, off their big win versus Michigan State, has to go take care of business versus Indiana. Indiana still searching for their first Big Ten win. Mike, I don't think they'll get it this weekend. What do you think?
I mean, Iowa's offense has played tremendous football this season. Ricky Stanzi, 19 touchdown passes to only 2 interceptions. Indiana allows 29.7, roughly 30 points per game. They've just got a lot of deficiencies on that defense. You got a guy like Mitchell Evans at free safety, who's a good player. You got the Raplogo brothers at middle linebacker and on the defensive line, who are good players who made plays last season. But I think Iowa just too balanced on offense, too tough in the trenches. I don't think Indiana's offensive line is going to be able to handle Iowa's front 7. Ben Chappell threw 54 times last week, only completed 30 passes because Indiana doesn't have a running game. Darius Willis has been out for the past 4 weeks with an injury. They have not found an identity running the football. So Iowa, balance in the trenches over 4 quarters. Iowa wins this game going away. I think the Hawks put up 38 points. Indiana maybe scores a touchdown or 2. I think Iowa big, 38-14 in Bloomington.
Jake.
Well, I think Indiana's offense really poses some interesting matchups against our defense. No team really this year has had that much success running against our defense, but Indiana comes in as the top-ranked team in the Big Ten in passing yards per game. However, Ben Chappell ranks just 7th in the Big Ten in passing efficiency. Number 1 in the Big Ten is on our team, Ricky Stanzi. He's 2nd in the nation in pass efficiency. Adam Robinson has quietly put up a very good season. He's 3rd in the Big 10 in rushing yards per game behind only John Clay and Denard Robinson. We have a very balanced attack. I think we're going to put up a lot of points on Indiana's defense, who is just Not very good, to be honest. Not very good statistics on that side of the ball for Indiana. But it will be interesting to see how we slow down Ben Chappell on the road. I think we limit them to less than 30 points easily, and we score more than 30 points easily. So therefore, mathematically, we're going to win by at least 2 scores, I think.
Yeah, and we're entering the home stretch now of the season. 3 of the 4 games are on the road, so this is going to be interesting for Iowa. Got to make sure they go take care of business. I think they do against Indiana. I like Iowa to win 37-10. If you got any comments about what you've seen tonight, uiowaist@gmail.com is our email address. For Mike Rabin and Jake Burgers, I'm Alex Salzma. Good night and go Hawks.
No, it's
Palo Alto.
game ball.
Game ball.
I said team ball.
Team ball twice. Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't award it to the team, but they gave him a team ball. Whatever.
Hey, that's
I'm
all
a
right.
champion.
That's all right. Guys on ESPN screw up all the time. They don't get fired, so I'll maybe more.
You'll allow me to stay on?
I'll let you stay on.